It's Chel by Chel. You already know what it is. We're back here again for episode 3 of the Coffee Tour. Today, I'll be interviewing the owner of Dark Hall Coffee, Juan. Let's get into it. All right, guys, we're back here again with Juan and Liz. How are you guys feeling today?
It's good.
Feeling good.
Feeling good.
Great. So basically, if we can just get into Dark Halls. So how did it come to be? How did it start out? Just rip right into it. Rip right into it.
Go ahead.
So we have a restaurant, the Coronado, and we basically just needed a place to bake. So we looked for a spot, built a kitchen, started baking there, and then it was like we have, 250 square feet left over in the front, and what makes sense to go here? Coffee.
Absolutely.
So we started doing that, not really knowing what we were doing, but just wanting to be the best at it, the best we knew how, and kind of learn along the way. And it grew into its own brand.
Very nice. And so with coffee, has coffee always been a part of what you guys love? And did you kind of have to learn to get into making coffee? And how did that happen?
Yeah, I've always loved coffee for years. And I've always, I told Liz years ago, we're talking 15 years ago, we were in some little coffee spot in the east side. And I was like, man, I want to own a coffee shop. The restaurant came first. And gradually, of course, it was an opportunity to open up a coffee shop, and I was so excited. I'm an okay barista. I'm not fantastic, but I love coffee. I love the structure of it. I love I think it's really the discipline, right. And the consistency is what we try to strive for. We deal with Randy. He's our roaster from Xanadu Roasters. He's a local guy, and everything he does. Work with fair trade coffees and stuff like that. We try to, kind of respect where that bean comes from, and so we do everything with a skill, but learning. We have a great team, and the baristas have such a skill set. Let me tell you, it was a learning curve for sure, but I think you can learn anything if you really want to do it, I guess, you gotta have some passion behind it.
Absolutely. I love that. Yeah, so that brings me to the baristas. So is there a special, when you put the baristas together, was there a way that you did that? Because if you went into it not really knowing a lot how did you find people that were good at what they did and finding coming up with the special coffees that you have and everything?
It takes a special team. We take no credit for what happens inside that building. And, Liz said it's an entity of its own. I think it started with the basics. When we had the restaurant, we did have an espresso machine in that restaurant, and we had a couple of our team members that worked with us that had a little bit of knowledge of coffee, and it started from there. Literally just a base of just hey, let's do it well, and it's developed over time, and we've added to different training processes, but also we hire people with no experience. You got to start somewhere. And sometimes a blank slate is always the best slate. Yeah. But if you're trying to attempt to build a business, you got to have a little bit of knowledge. And the tenure that these baristas have, they bring a lot of experience, and we rely on that for sure. And that's when I say we take no credit. 100% is all done by the people that work here.
Teamwork makes the dream work, as they say. Absolutely. And now, so what would you guys say sets what does how does Dark Hall compare to other coffee shops? What makes it stand out?
I would say the first and most obvious thing would be that it's 100% plant-based. There's not a lot of coffee shops here. I don't know if there are any 100% plant-based anymore in Phoenix. There was one, it closed. that would be the main thing, because people either are into it or very turned off by it.
Right.
So we're kind of, in a little niche market that we created or, jumped onto, however that happened. But if you can get somebody in here who maybe isn't sure about plant-based and then tries it,
Right.
they're like, whoa, I didn't know.
Yeah.
When you think of vegan, it's crunchy, hippie, not cool looking, not cool, whatever it
Right,
is.
right.
But if we can get them in here, they can try it and see, like, the pastries are mind-blowing.
Phenomenal is what I hear. I'm gonna get some on my way out.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The coffee is great, having a milk made from plants or oats or whatever it is, you really don't know the difference.
Right.
So if people just give it a chance, then they can see that.
Okay, two things to that. You just got me so excited. Just this morning, my friend, she was telling me, she sent me like a little article that you guys are you guys are on the top list of vegan coffee shops in Phoenix. So I was like, oh, that's good to know. I'm going to keep that in my mind. So it's cool to hear you speak on that. And literally just last year, I really got into vegan food, and just everything that you're saying is like, that was kind of apprehensive getting into it myself. And then when I got in, I was like, man, this is better than regular food. So yeah, absolutely. I feel like people, they're obviously scared of what they don't know,
Yep.
but if you have someone to kind of, you see someone else doing it, this is part of why I did this coffee tour, is to show people like, yo, I'm done with Starbucks. We're done with Starbucks. Like, let's check out these other spaces that are just as offers like that creativity and offers like a different flavor, literally. So
For sure.
really cool what you guys are doing. All right. So what would you say is like the most popular drink on the menu? What are your guys' like individual favorite drinks?
So looking at just what we sell, the latte is by far the biggest seller.
Cheers, guys.
I think, I was trying to think about why that would be. I think it's just approachable for people. If you're not super, super into coffee, you have the milk in it, you can add the syrups. There's different, flavor profiles, but if you're also super into coffee, you're still getting that.
Right.
Hot or iced, it goes for every season. So that is the most popular. My personal favorite drink here that I always get is an iced caramel oat latte.
Okay.
It's phenomenal. I mean, we make the caramel here, so just knowing the care that goes into that, the time it takes. A vegan caramel is not easy to make because usually it's based in cream. Just the flavor, I mean, that's my go-to. I probably have 4 a week, which is not good, but it's fine.
Off the walls. You're going off the walls. The vegan caramel.
Yeah. For me, I'm such a basic person. I just, espresso is like, for me, is the base. A good shot of espresso. I mean, I like to go to coffee shops, and that's my go-to. Here, it is probably, maybe I'm biased. I do go to a lot of coffee shops. I do like to, there's a few that I do love, and it really comes down to the barista, but also how they scale everything, which here is, man, the espresso is fantastic. I'm not too much in the latte. Espresso tonic.
What? Espresso tonic?
It's next level.
What?
Our dark crown tonic, it takes 72 hours to make. It is labor intensive, but what they do is, you can taste it. You can taste it. When someone doesn't care about something, you can see it or taste it. And everything they do here, let me tell you, there's a lot of labor that goes into just the basic of a drink. And I don't think a lot of people realize what happens in the background just to get you to that little cup, right?
Right.
But for me, espresso's the jam. Because if it's off, your latte is no good. That's just me, though. Listen, I'm not a
Right.
professional. I just like to drink it, and I have at least one a day.
You actually
Love that. Love that. I know. I was gonna say like you,
Listen,
owner and
I've been
everything.
Yeah, I've been 7 years. We got a barista that's been in here for doing it for 15 years.
Oh, wow.
So you have a lot of tenures.
Right.
They have a specific way of doing things. But
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. I'll have to check it out. Check
yeah,
it out.
100%.
And now, so as you guys know, I think I kind of went over it before we started this. So I do events around the valley that are like vendor and performer based events. So what I would like to know, as being like a local coffee shop, what kind of events would you guys like to see more of? Or are there any events that you currently do here at the shop or are associated with?
So, Randy, our roaster from Xanadu, did an event a few months ago called the Wanderlust Tour. And so what it was is he made a list of coffee shops and had a little punch card, and you would go and get punched at each, not punched, but punched at each coffee shop when you bought a drink. And then you would take your card back to his shop, and then you got a t-shirt. It was like a tour t-shirt that showed, all the coffee shops on it. That was an amazing event for us and such a cool idea, because we had so many people come who didn't even know we existed. And I think it's really easy, when you're out here doing the thing, to think that everybody knows who you are. Right. If they care, they're coming here, But finding out that people still don't know who we are, after being around for 4 or 5 years, that was super interesting. But just having those new people in, and then they're saying, oh yeah, I got my latte here, next I'm going to, this place on the list, and people had so much fun. Yeah. That was a really cool event that we had never seen happen before. But we also do a market here with our restaurant, which is right next door, where we have local vendors come, and everybody has a table or a tent, and it's handmade, soaps, bouquet wraps, little tchotchkes, paintings, all kinds of stuff. Just local artists who come, set up, sell their stuff. People come and eat, get coffee, have cocktails, whatever it is. That's called Moonlight Market, and we have that every few months. So we've been doing that when we can, when we have time to. We have some friends who help with that. We host different things. We had the governor-elect do she's the governor now, Katie Hobbs, do an event here in the backyard where we had coffee and pastries for her and her people. We've had witches come and meet and do their monthly meetup, doing their entrepreneurial business. Yeah, all kinds of things. I mean, we want to help the community. We have a space, and having people, want to be here is incredible, because this is something that, we built from our brains, and when people can appreciate that and like it and want to be in that space, it's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I feel like being locally owned businesses, that's like the biggest thing, is the people. The people make everything, and to be able to give back and kind of help each other out and see how we can all win together is like, it's paramount. I feel like that's like the coolest thing about what we all do. Absolutely. So awesome. Thank you guys so much for doing this.
Thank you.
I think we're going to close it out here. Chel by Chel, out.
Chel by Chel, Chel by Chel, Chel by Chel.
That was really good. You guys did it. See, I told you, naturals.
I don't know about that.
You make it so easy.
Yeah.